Hello, hello, hello. We're back.
Hello.
So hopefully as you are joining us, you will share and comment. We love hearing from you guys. We also, although we are again on our respective IGs, we're on Facebook, and tonight we're on Aaliyah's Facebook. So if you happen to be on my IG, you would have to follow Aaliyah, or I guess maybe I could pop on. I should have probably popped on Facebook first and shared it, but you know. So we are definitely we're here live.
Oh yes.
Again.
So weird.
We have again all of the devices. We need like some tracks or something like hey Marianne. So glad you could make it tonight. We are gonna be talking about, we felt like we have been talking about like all the negative aspects of relationships.
Yes.
And we wanted to talk about some of the positives. I honestly don't remember my password, so probably not be able to log in. Yeah.
Dang it. Should have told it to remember it.
It's all good. So we are going to talk about that. So we would love, I don't know what it is. It's fine. Thank you. What happened? What if you shared it? What happened? Like you share from your page to mine.
Oh.
We'll figure it out as we go. So we would love for you to pop on and share your thoughts on positive aspects that have come out of maybe not so positive situations. If you've been in relationships, and once you got out of those relationships, you realized some things about yourself, or you learned some things about yourself. We would love to hear.
I should do from here.
It's just gonna. I don't know. Anyway, we're being random. We are. Oh well.
Okay.
Just trying not to make everybody have to go actually befriend Aaliyah to be able to watch this.
But if you want to.
So anyway, so
this is episode 5.
5.
Episode 5. We've been in quarantine fast.
Why are we still at home?
It's okay. Praise the Lord, because great things are being birthed from this quarantine.
For sure.
A small hint. So again, on today's episode, we wanted to kind of switch the flip and talk about the positive side of our respective relationships. And so essentially today what we'll be talking about is what we learned about ourselves, about life, about marriage, about God, whatever it was that we learned, what we gained from our previous relationship. That is what we are here to share with you this evening. So I have a few things that I jotted down, and I guess I'm starting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my most recent relationship really, like, I don't know the right saying, hit the nail on the head for me, because again, shortly after the relationship ended, I had a revelation, and I even shared it with Dr. S, and it was that all 3 of my serious relationships ended the same way. And so, of course, I had to take a look at myself and say, okay, well, what does that mean about me? Why did how did I end up in the same scenario 3 times. And so it just caused me to look at myself. And even with the most recent relationship, one major thing that I learned was that I didn't trust God the way that I thought I did. Of course, my other 2 relationships happened prior to me being saved, but again, this relationship, this third one, again, it was so similar to those other 2, and again, with them ending essentially the same way, it taught me that I didn't trust God the way that I thought I did, to bring me somebody that would reach, or not reach, but someone that would meet my standards, someone that would, in a sense, be above me, because I always felt like I was in a better position, whether it was whether I was in school, whether I had a steady job, whatever it was, I always felt like I had more to offer, and I was in a circumstance with someone who I was like, okay, like, yeah, I like you, you cute, perfect, but I need you to, like, do these things in order for us to work. And of course, I ended up staying in those relationships longer than I needed to, because I didn't believe that there was better out there, or I didn't believe that, God had something greater. I felt like, because of what I had known about relationships, what I had seen, that this was what was it for me, that this was what, I was worth, that this was all that I had. And again, the major thing is just that I learned that I found myself in those relationships because I didn't trust God the way that I thought I did. Another thing that I learned was that I had more power than I believed I did. So, again, shortly after ending my last relationship, of course, there was a word that came that we as women, I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, but we're more than likely to have the higher standard in relationships, so we need to uphold that. And I had noticed that in all of my previous relationships that I was in a position to where I lowered my standards, thinking that would, it would put me on the same playing field as him, that he would eventually rise up, and now I'm like, okay, now you're meeting my standards, but I lowered them to what's the word? Kind of just to benefit him. It wasn't because, it was essentially because, I just lost my train of thought. But I lowered my standards essentially because, I wanted him to be okay. I wanted him to feel, like the man. I wanted him to feel like I need, I don't want to say that, but it didn't turn out good. So, however, once I learned that we as women, again, have more power than we believe, I learned that I have to uphold those standards, otherwise I will continue to lower them and the cycle will continue. So that was something that I learned. And I kind of have a list. Should I go through all of mine, or you wanna alternate? We can just do this on the fly, y'all.
Yeah, I can totally follow on. As you are getting your list together, because I too didn't write down a whole lot of things. I think, one of the things that I learned about myself. So I feel like oftentimes as women, our goal is always the marriage, right? The wedding, the ring, and those kind of things, and not necessarily enjoying the process to get there. So having been married and divorced twice, obviously, the first person I need to look at is myself. Probably most of us, if we've had some kind of breakup, we spend some time blaming the other person. But when you think about multiple relationships across multiple years, depending on how old you are, generally the only common denominator is you.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you do? Assess what's going on at that point. So one of the things that I realized is that I need, like I benefit from having space physically and mentally and emotionally. And I know for some people that may sound odd. But like I literally need that in order to be able to process next steps. So if I'm in a relationship, even a friendship, and we said before, like we tend to focus on, husband and wife, fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend, but just in relationships in general, I need like space away to gather my thoughts, to process how I'm feeling, to be able to articulate those things.
Definitely.
I'm sorry. Marion is saying it's freezing on Instagram. But yeah, so I realized that part of my challenge when I was in relationships is that if I didn't take that time and space to process it, I would get really frustrated. I would get really angry. I would, get like blow up, at the smallest little thing. And then it's, this, what's the saying? You turn the anthill into a mountain or whatever. But that's because I wasn't aware of like what I legit needed. So that was one thing I learned about myself. Like I literally didn't know that I needed that. Like people need breath and water and food. I need space and time to process. And it's not an affront to anyone. It's not, even because maybe I'm mad. It's just like I think a lot. Me and one friend, we were just talking about this, like that whole like over analyzing thing. And so if I don't take that time and space to really think about in a healthy way, think about how I'm feeling and what's going on, then it becomes something that is totally unhealthy. So that was one thing I learned about myself. Also, one thing I learned about myself, which I've known for a long time, and I don't know for real what the root cause of it is, but in all honesty and transparency, because that's what we do here.
Yes.
I have an anger problem. And like I said, like if I don't put myself in timeout, if I don't take the time and space I need, then I allow little things to set me off. Like I go to 10 on something that shouldn't even register on the scale, and then it becomes this huge big thing. And so not only have I gotten angry, my reaction is just so like over the top. Like, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. My reaction does not fit what actually happened. And of course, in any relationship, friendship situation, that is unattractive. Nobody wants to be around that. And so I really had to take some time and do, over the years. So it's not like I realized it and then I got help and then I am magically better. Like it is something that, over the years I am realizing is an issue for me, and that I need to constantly work on that so that I'm not being angry and aggressive or passive aggressive, which is sometimes worse than being aggressive, or those kind of things. So I'll stop with those and let you pick back up.
Okay. So yeah, just to kind of continue my last one in regards to having more power than I believed. So again, my last relationship taught me, again, kind of brought everything to the surface that I was weak, I was easy to manipulate, I was insecure, and all of those things, again, played to the fact that I didn't believe that I had the power to, you know, uphold a standard or to express a different opinion or to, you know, challenge whoever it was. So I was more so just, again, I mentioned in one of our previous videos that I don't like confrontation. So I was just one of those, okay, well, just do whatever you say in order to avoid conflict, in order to keep the peace. And so that just wasn't something that was good. It didn't produce a healthy relationship for us. And again, I learned that I had to activate and utilize my voice, and that I, again, as a woman, have power, and not like in the sense that like we're gonna do everything my way, or, you know, but it's just like, but that I have power and authority even as a woman. So that was something that was big for me. Again, and then another thing kind of ties into, I think, what your first point was. This is something that, okay, I'm gonna just say it. So essentially, because I thought I did, but I don't. So I learned that I don't like clingy. Like, I just don't. I too am that person that enjoys my personal space. I enjoy time to myself. Granted, will that change once God, you know, sends me my one? It may, but right now I learned for myself, again, just throughout all of my relationship experience, that clingy just does not work for me. I'm the type that just like again, I like my personal space. I like to know that we can, you know, have our time apart and come together and still, you know, enjoy each other. But I just, it's overwhelming for me. Again, that may change. We shall see. Prayerfully. Another thing that I learned, which was one of the biggest things for me, was that God's grace is sufficient. So my understanding of God's grace really like resonates. Everything that happened prior to then has been forgiven. Everything that happened, like, it's in the water. And so now to have this new mindset, to be living this new life, and to have still fell into temptation, to have still sinned in such a major way. Again, I mentioned this last week, that all sin, there's no like sin that's greater than the other in God's eyes. It's all the same. However, for us as human, we kind of weigh them differently. And so again, for me to have been in a circumstance that caused me to do things that were like at the top of the list, I was just like, and the fact that I could still, even after that, experience God's love, that I knew that it was still real, that I knew that it was still true, that meant like so much to me. That I'm like, wow, God's grace really is sufficient. And it just kind of tying into my first one, that it just kind of pushed me to trust in God even more, because, you know, I'm just like, I don't want to take advantage of that. I don't want to continue to try to do things and navigate through life my way just because God's grace is going to cover me afterwards. Like, something that I think even Sierra mentioned this earlier, but even though God is forgiving, our actions still have consequences. Sure. So, yes, I've been forgiven. Yes, you know, I've been healed, redeemed, all of that. But still, my actions have consequences. Whether it was emotional, whether it was physical, whether it was spiritual, my actions have consequences. And so, I'm a strong advocate for just get it right the first time. Like, don't have to go through the bad. Don't do the sin. Don't, you know, make the wrong choice to have to learn of God's grace that way. Like, just get it right the first time. Like, if you know His word, hide it in your heart and just live by it. Like, period. And then another thing, and this was kind of last on my list, but I'm sure that I have others, I just didn't think of them. But another thing that I learned was to trust those who God has placed over me, as far as spiritual leaders and guidance. Yeah. So I just learned that it's important for me to trust those people and to trust who it is that he's placed over my life to lead, to guide, to shepherd, because they know more, they know better. And again, the reason why I'm adamant and passionate about testifying is in hope that someone would listen to me and would learn from my mistake, would learn from my transparency, and not have to go through the same things again. Because then it's just like, why are we even, like, God literally uses people to reach people. So the reason why we share is to help prevent the next person from going through the same thing. And if we're not heeding that, then it's just like we are defying God's purpose. So that was just something that was important to me, and that was something that was big in what I learned from previous relationships altogether. To trust wise counsel and to apply, the counsel that they give.
So. For sure. I don't know if it's my internet connection or what is going on. So if you are watching and it's freezing or booting you out, I'm so sorry. We're in the same spot we always are. So I don't know, maybe again it's a Friday night. Everybody probably trying to do a live or a video or something. So please bear with us. Also, if you are on, we would love to hear from you. So if you've been in a relationship, and after the relationship you did some self-reflection and realized, hey, these are some things I've learned about myself, we would love to hear what you learned and how it is now benefiting you. One other thing I wanted to mention with regards to it, so we kind of usually have a framework that we're going to pull from. And so one of the things was what have we learned about ourselves and what personal revelations we got. I think the other thing that I have learned is anytime, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, or you were, in a marital relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, homies, whatever, it's about you. So again, I would spend a lot of time trying to blame the other person. Well, you did this and you did that and you hurt me, and so therefore I reacted to, blah 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 blah. Which our Pastor Medina preached a powerful message on the difference between responding and reacting, and so you should totally find the live on our Facebook page. But like I would spend all this energy being mad at them, or laying the blame on them, and not taking time to be introspective or reflective or whatever. And so I think for me, that's one of the personal revelations that I got, is that I need to work out my salvation, right? I need to get my life together. I need to deal with the issues that I have.
Right.
And it hurts, and it's uncomfortable, and you don't like it, and it doesn't feel good, and you realize just how ratchet you are. Or maybe it's just me. I'm saying you. I mean, the universal you. But like, that was what really, one of the things that really struck me, is how much energy we invest in, pointing. What's it saying? When you point, there are three fingers pointing back at you. So all this energy that you're using to go out to this, that, and the third really should be spent on you. And just something that came to mind, which I think was a quick nugget, even with regards to our families. Because we will say, well, my mama this, or my daddy this, or da-da-da. Okay, but you 25, you 30, you 45, you 60. Why are we still talking about our parents?
Right.
Why are we still talking about our childhood? And I'm not saying those things are not important. I'm not saying that those things don't influence us and affect us and shape us. But what I am saying is that we can't allow those things to continue to dictate poor choices that we are now making.
Right.
Like, I know better now.
Right.
I know the stove is hot, so I can't keep being like, well, that stove burnt me. Okay, stop touching the stove. That's okay. You have an awareness now. Now it is up to you to take responsibility for what you are doing, or up to me to take responsibility for what I am doing that is now affecting these subsequent friendships, situations, jobs, whatever decisions that I'm making. So I think that is really key.
Yeah.
In all of this, I need to know who I am and my issues and what I'm dealing with, and then I can make smarter choices. I can choose better when it comes to friendships and relationships. I can see more clearly, when it comes to whatever, like Aaliyah was saying with her relationship, and I can totally relate. If I'm messed up and you come at me and you messed up, I can't tell you messed up.
Right.
Because I messed up. But if I have dealt with my stuff and dealt with my issues and gone to therapy and prayed and all this stuff, and you come to me and you ratchet,
right,
I'm going to be able to be like, you know what?
Right.
You're not quite right. I'm going to keep walking. No, you can't have my number. Or whatever the case may be. So, I apologize if that was long-winded, but totally, I think something that is relevant and something, all of us can be mindful of and glean something from that. So
yeah, no, definitely. And so I noticed I did have kind of one more thing that I was going to mention, which I think was one of the personal revelations that I had, was that throughout or after, again, going through this relationship, which again was like third time I'm done, like with going through the same thing, it kind of just empowered me, and it gave me more clarity on what my calling was and on what God was, what he had been trying to like show me by going through these relationships, and how he was trying to, build and mold me. It took for me to go through those circumstances to kind of get it. And I feel like had I not gone through those things, I wouldn't have it now. Like I wouldn't be here testifying. I wouldn't be sharing. I wouldn't be writing, because I just didn't have the purpose behind it. But now again, the fact that God got me through all of those circumstances and didn't allow me to go, as it, like, not to say the worst, but I didn't have kids by any of these guys. I didn't end up marrying any of these guys. So it's like the fact that I was able to remove myself from those circumstances without any ties, it just was like, okay, like, he was just showing me that I need you specifically to go out here and to preach and to teach other women alike. And again, it was something that had I not gone through this, I wouldn't be where I am today. So of course it's like, ooh, why did I have to learn it that way? But again, I made the active choice to allow the relationships to get to where they were, instead of trusting God that when he showed me these men, that I should have been strong enough to know that, like, yeah, no, we not even going, this not going to go past texting and past dating, past whatever. Like, if I would have had the power, the strength, the courage to do those things, then I would have learned a long time ago what God was trying to get me to do. But now I know it, like, for sure, without a doubt. And I'm like, okay, God, I got you. And so that's why we are here where we are now, sharing our stories, being a light, because again, it just means a lot that for anyone who knew me throughout, my schooling, like K through 12 or whatever, like, I was always known as the quiet one. I was always known as the one that, like, kept to herself, didn't really bother anybody. I was almost cool with everybody, But again, I just was like the smart kid. I was quiet, all of this stuff, not knowing or not really having the courage to speak up or the courage to like speak out or to just even just put myself, as center of attention. Like I was just so afraid of that. But now it's just like God has taken me through so many things where it's just like, I'm not going to get anywhere if I continue to withhold what it is that he's put in me. So now I'm like, now with the knowledge of Christ, with the word, it's only going to get out again if we speak it, if we live it. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just like, okay, God, I'm going to utilize and activate the voice that you have had in me for so long. I was just always afraid to use it. And I'm going to use this again for the glory of God. So, praise the Lord again for grace and mercy because he can still, take beauty for ashes. Like, even though I went through and did all that I did, like, if God was human, he'd have gave up on me by now.
Right.
But he didn't. So, praise the Lord. So that was just another quick thing that I kind of learned and that really just pushed me more into who I am today.
Right. I was just thinking, and this is, for whomever, whether you're watching live or we post this on YouTube later or you're watching it on the replay. One thing, this is years ago, my son will be 10 in a few weeks. He was like a baby, and I heard this minister say, he talked about God's plan A for your life versus like any other plan,
Right.
And however he ministered, it like left me so sad. Like, I am never going to get God's plan A for my life. I've made all of these poor decisions with regards to relationships and just, other ratchet things that I've done and decisions that I've made. And I share this because something Aaliyah said that struck me is, oftentimes the experiences that we've had, although they may not have been pleasant or ideal, they get us to where we are now. And I think that I believe that is because the Bible says he works all things out for our good. What the enemy meant for bad, God works it out for our good. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like God's plan A for us at the end of the day is to be with him. All this other stuff, the stuff he lets us enjoy here on this earth, that's just a bonus, right? That's just a plus. And, prayerfully, we will live life and life more abundantly because Jesus died on the cross and rose again for that. I just want to encourage us to not get sidetracked by the mistakes that we've made and think that because, we've had a kid out of wedlock or because we've done this or because we experienced that we cannot experience God's best for us, because we can. The devil's a lie. We can and we will. So God's plan A for you is going to be made manifest. Yeah. Maybe we have some extra stuff along the way. You seek him. Right, when you seek him. Maybe we do have some stuff along the way, but you can still get wherever your there is. Yep. It can still happen in Christ. And so I just wanted to throw that out there to be an encourager. Exactly. He knows the plans. I'm telling you. When that minister said that, I literally was like, well, what? Like, how he said it, I felt like my life was over. I'm like, well, I screwed up plan A. So
right.
What's the point? And I was still in I was at New Destiny. Then I talked to my then, pastor and first lady, and they were like, you okay? You good? Yes. And so I just wanted to put out that same encouragement to you all. I think one other thing, and I guess that kind of ties in with our next thing, is how that has shaped who we are today. So all of these experiences, all of these things that we have participated in and allowed to happen to us, and things we've done, definitely shape who we are. And I will always ring the bell, toot the horn for the importance of wise counsel. In any context. Like, I would be a millionaire right now if I had listened to my grandmother's wise counsel about finances, or, you know, different situations. Wise counsel is always good.
It's biblical.
It's biblical. It's like
Proverbs.
You know, I tell my son, like, I was fussing at him the other day, but I was telling him, I was like, I will never tell you anything to hurt you. Anything I ever tell you, you might not like it. It might feel like you being chastised or restricted or held back. I said, but everything I tell you is for your benefit. And when you have true wise counsel, that is how they see you. They see you to say, everything I'm telling you is for your good. It's for your benefit. It's for you to be better. It's for you to not make the same mistakes that I made. Like, I got this new to me revelation earlier. Aaliyah and I were talking with Cain and Abel, and I'm gonna do a whole other video on that. So be on the lookout. But you know, it is biblical. Wise counsel is biblical for the elder women to talk to the younger women, for the elder men to talk to the younger men. And so, you know, heed wise counsel. Okay, I feel like I got on the soapbox. So I'm going to pass it to you, Aaliyah.
Oh, I thought you were...
What, if anything else, you want to say about, you know, where you are now? Like, the person you are today. May 1st, 2020.
May 1st, 2020.
It's May, y'all.
Man, we almost at the halfway mark. Sheesh. Just started. So I guess again, we're talking about how the relationship experiences have shaped us into who we are today. Right? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. Let me see. I think, again, just kind of like I was saying earlier, it's like, it's definitely empowered me to use my voice a lot more. And something also that I learned was the power of no. Granted, me, throughout all of my life, I've been a people pleaser. So, that was something that just I learned again from relationship experience, and then just, you know, and not even just romantic, but even with friendships, I'm like, I have to stop giving of myself so much. And it's not that I'm expecting anything in return, but it's just like, I have to trust God again, even in the sense that my saying no isn't going to change my relationship with this person. It's just me being open and honest and asserting myself to say, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't like that. No, this, no, that. And so it's really just giving me confidence, and it's giving me boldness, and it's also just, again, hi Erica. It's also just like solidified my dependence and my trust in Christ, that I don't need to seek, you know, acceptance. I don't need to be afraid of rejection or any of these things. Like, I can be honest and I can be truthful with people, and our relationships are still going to stay intact. It doesn't, you know, I trust God more now because He's already proven everything to me. He's already shown me again what real relationship looks like. And so I don't have to go above and thank you. I don't have to go above and beyond, or I don't have to try so hard, or I don't have to, again, put myself, I don't have to always put others before myself in order to feel accepted or to feel loved or to feel whatever. Like, God has already been all of that for me. So I can trust that in my saying no, or me sharing my opinion, or me speaking up, saying something unpopular, or whatever. I can still trust that, I'm not afraid of what the outcome is going to be. Like, this is life, and now I'm in a position to where I'm willing to put myself at risk for Christ. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm willing to speak up, to share, to say no, whatever it is. I'm willing to do all of those things if it means that I'm growing in Christ. And that, again, like I said, just experience with relationships, and again, more than just romantic, it has given me a trust and a confidence that I did not have even a year ago. And I'm just grateful to God that He's allowed me to be present in this moment, in this time, and that He's, again, still teaching me. He's still showing me things about myself. And so even in this time, in this season, again, being single, I'm like embracing this, and I'm taking the time and being intentional to learn more about me, so that when the opportunity comes again, that I'm more prepared, that I'm more confident, I'm more bold, fearless, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just, it's been a journey. Mm-hmm. It's been a journey. But again, with God, I'm just grateful. So,
Amen. Amen. I think one of the other things we said we would talk about, if we have time, and we do have some time, is how we even got here. Like, in the sense of salvation.
Right.
How that happened. And I think, as we reflect back on that and think about that and compare it to now, like, it is such a journey and a testimony. Because I think another way that we're similar is that we didn't grow up in church. Mm-hmm. I went to church with my grandmother, but I feel like I remember Easter plays, or, like 7 Last Words, or like special events, but I don't recall going to church every Sunday. Funerals with my mom and my stepdad. I remember Vacation Bible School, those kind of things, but I didn't really understand like what it was, like what this is for, like what we doing.
Right. Like
and I remember, so I went away to college, and I remember like part of me being like, I probably should, I don't know, like, so I think somebody invited me to like a campus Bible study or something, and I went, and then I didn't ever go back again, and then I might have gone to church sometime with a friend, but I'm just saying all that to say is like, I did not have a strong, like spiritual or Christian upbringing. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I knew enough about Him that when stuff happened, I'd be like, please, dear Jesus, but I didn't read my Bible. I wouldn't have called myself a Christian or anything like that. Yeah. When I graduated from college, which I'm pretty sure if I say when I graduated from college, she's going to say she wasn't born, or she was like 2. So I don't want to say it. But when I graduated from college and I moved back home, in my mind, okay, I have a degree. I'm about to get a job. I am an adult. Now, the one thing I feel like I know is that as an adult, I should go to church. Like, that, I should do that. And I should pay tithes. Like, those are the 2 things I was like, I should do. Now, I would go clubbing on Saturday, hang out, do what I do till like 2 in the morning, but would make my way to church by like 11:30. You know what I'm saying? Usually, and I went to a very traditional church. I won't say what the denomination is, but like they do a lot of pre-stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, that's too much. I'm gonna come in when the choir singing, and then he gonna preach, and then I'm gonna get my offering, and we cool. So that was about my leap, right? So I'm going, and I'm paying my tithes. So then if you ask me if I was saved, I would say yes, on my way to heaven anyhow. So little did I know the setup, right? Plan A, what my life could have been like had I not messed up along the way. But God was oh my gosh, the setup was ridiculous. He moved me away. He pulled a whole Abram on me. He moved me away from my family and friends. I was so miserable because this, again, I'm of a different generation. So this is before Facebook. And this is before Instagram. This is before you could just talk on your cell phone all day. Like, I think this was even before, like, nights and weekends, maybe. So,
That's funny.
I was so sad because my friends didn't want to drive. I only lived like an hour and 15 minutes away. They didn't want to drive down. Or, you know, I couldn't talk to them like I wanted to. And, you know, what am I going to do? What was me? So, anyway, I have to tell this part and then I'll shut up because I feel like I'm dragging it out. But it's such a good story.
Share your truth.
So I'm from North Carolina. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you guys happen to know where that is, I'm with one of my homegirls that I went to high school with. We're at a jazz spot, actually. I have a glass of wine. I'm telling you, the guy on the street. I have a glass of wine in my hand. There's this guy who's like, "Hey, how you doing? What you doing?" Da, 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 da. His name is Trevor. I would say his last name, but I don't want to put him on Front Street. I will remember him to the day I die. He had a drink in his hand. I got a glass of wine in my hand. We're at a jazz spot. And he goes, "Well, what church do you go to?" And I'm like, I don't know. I've been here. Like, I have been there probably a couple of years, been in the city a minute, and I have visited churches because, again, I'm trying to be right. So I know I need to go, and I know I need to pay tithe.
Come on, God.
So, Mary, you laughing at me. And so I'm like, I don't even know. I've been looking. He was like, "You should come to church with me." We in a jazz spot, y'all. I feel like I'm young. We in a jazz spot. I got a glass of wine in my hand. He got a drink in his. We talk about going to church. So I was like, okay. That next day, because this was Saturday, we at the spot. That Sunday, I meet him at the church that he went to. And I was like, "Ooh, this is different." Because, again, the church I was going to, very traditional, very quiet, very, it wasn't Catholic or anything like that, but it was just a very somber environment. And so they were standing up and clapping and singing. I was like, oh God. So I went a couple of Sundays, right? And so I think after going a few times, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna join this church. And it was at that church where I recommitted my life to Christ. Now, again, won't say the denomination. I got baptized. And like made conscious choices. Like I learned that I'm not supposed to go to the club. I learned that I probably shouldn't be drinking. I learned that when you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, that affects some change in your life. I got a group of friends, of girlfriends who also had fantastic testimonies, who now on a Saturday night, Friday night, we chilling, we having potlucks and getting together and watching movies and having girls. Ain't nobody talking about going to the club, ain't nobody talking about drinking, ain't nobody, and so it was in that experience that came out of this really weird, counterintuitive experience that ended up really being a pivotal point in my life. And as I reflect back, because this was at this point almost 20 years ago, that I see, like now, like if you had asked me then if I would be doing Instagram and Facebook Live with a young lady and us,
come on,
you couldn't have told me. If you had told me then ideas that I had, like a Rise devotional journal, which came like 10 years later, but like Sister that's coming up, like these are things that God planted in me all those years ago that I wouldn't have birthed out if I hadn't had the experiences that I had, or maybe would have birthed out, but they would have been different because I hadn't had those particular experiences. So I want to give Aaliyah time to share her story. But I just wanted to get that out there again as we're talking about our journeys and how God can still use it and work it out and move us forward. So let me shut up. Holly, I'm going to get excited. I'm going to run around.
Thank you, Lord, for deliverance.
Won't he do it? I'm drinking water, y'all. Ain't no wine no more.
Like, I didn't learn something new. Wow. Well, let's just say my journey began kind of around the same time, given again that we are in two separate generations. But my journey didn't really begin until 2.5 years ago. So, again, growing up, I didn't grow up in church either, but I knew of and I believed in God because I always credit my grandmother, may she rest in peace, as the one who like instilled faith in me. Like, she is the one who taught me how to say my prayers at night. She taught me, how to pray for my food. Like, she, at the dinner table, when my sister and I would have to go over there after school because my mom worked, like, she would have us reading the daily bread. Like, I had no idea the seeds that were being planted then. But it was something that just always stuck with me. And even in like all of my birthday cards, she always wrote like a scripture or something that it's like my life motto almost, but be strong and courageous. Like, she always wrote that, and I never knew what that meant. But when I started to build my own my personal relationship with God, and I saw that in the Word, I was like, wow. Grandma, you was like, so. Again, I credit her. Like, I didn't go to church. She went to church faithfully, and so I would go time to time with her. Or, again, I grew up with single mom, so we typically would only go if there was an event, such as an Easter play, or, they were honoring my grandmother at church because she, again, was like, she was one of those. She was like I don't want to say girl, but anywho, my grandma was popping.
Get it, granny?
So I didn't go to church much either. So I never really had a relationship. Like, I didn't read much. I didn't pray, as often as I do now. I had no idea, of what it meant to actually like be a Christian. Like she said, like, if you would have asked me back then, I would have just been like, yeah, I believe in God, but that's about it. And so when I got to college, this was kind of when my pursuit began a little bit, because despite I was in a relationship for about 3 years. So pretty much while I was in college, I was in this non-godly relationship, but in a sense I was still seeking him because I don't know, looking for some type of direction. And it wasn't until I got out of that relationship that I decided that, I really don't, or I'm really tired of like living like this. Of course, again, I grew up not really knowing or not really having much wise counsel. I came from a line of people, or the counsel that I had pretty much encouraged my bad behavior in a sense. And again, I had a really good group of friends, but it was just like I found myself doing things because I was just like, well, this is just what we do at this age. This is just, this is just, what we do. As far as drinking, going to clubs, fornicating, all these things, I was just like, okay. But even, again, throughout college, while I was doing all of these things, there was always a small voice in the back of my mind. And I just didn't really know, like, what it was, who it was, like, how to respond to it. I didn't know any of that. Again, I just found my way just conforming, trying to find my way. But, and even in college, I came across, like, this Christian group that met on Thursdays. They had, like, a little, their little Bible study, I guess it was. And I went to SLU, which is a Catholic school. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll find my way here. I mean, they believe in Jesus, so let's see. But I didn't actually have a good experience with that group. Just considering that I would go to the Bible study on Thursdays, and then I would see the same people in passing on campus, and they wouldn't look my way. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's not Christ-like. That's not godly. So that was just like, at some point I was just, there were maybe like 2 people who were like genuine and who like still conversed and connected with me outside of that Thursday night. But overall, I was just like, this not it. I have to keep looking. Mm-hmm. So eventually I stopped going. And again, it wasn't until I graduated college and, made the decision that I wanted to stop basically living ratchet. Even though, like, I wasn't, like, out there, I was out there enough to where I was just like, the same things, like, this stuff is just old, it's not exciting, it's not entertaining, like, it's just not for me anymore. So that was when I began to intentionally pursue a place to call home, a place to really build a relationship with God. And perfectly enough, one day I'm scrolling on Instagram, and one of my friends that I went to high school with, I had kind of been paying attention to his post because, I don't know, it was just the people that he was with, the joy that he had. It was something that just attracted me to his post. And so I inboxed him, and I was just like, what y'all do? What's going on? Like, what's up? And essentially he invited me to church. I didn't even know. First off, he didn't even tell me the address until the day of. I went for the first time on a Wednesday. So I guess that was his way of like, we gonna see if she really gonna show up. He was like, he probably thought if I tell her that this is a church, she not gonna come. Mm-hmm. But little did he know, that's what I was looking for. So he invited me to church. I went for the first time on a Wednesday night, which I'm talking about New Destiny. And it was just like automatic, like right then and there in that moment. I went in, I sat towards the back because my friend, he wasn't even there yet. I'm like, how you gonna be late? Now I gotta walk up in here by myself, and Instagram was gonna shut off. So to catch the rest of it, feel free to check out the video on Facebook. So essentially I sat in the back. I was just like, ooh, I don't know these people, but I'm here. Mm-hmm. And like automatically people came rushing to me, introducing themselves, hugging. I was like, what? This usually is not what happens when you go into a new place for the first time. Usually you go in and everybody just looks at you like, who are you? But that's not what happened. The fact that the moment that I stepped foot, the moment that I like walked into a place of worship, a place of where God's love was present, that captured me. And so it was in that moment where I knew like, this is where I find my way. This is how I begin a new life. Like this is going to be my home. Granted, there was a ton of youth. There were people my age. And that was something else that captured me, that like, there's people my age in this day and time that are on fire for God, that are living for Christ, that are, walking representations of his love. Like that was enough to like get me and cause me to turn away from everything that I was doing before. So again, visited the church that Wednesday night. I came on that, I believe I went that following Sunday as well. I went maybe a matter of 2 times. And on the third time, by YG. By IG.
We're on Facebook if you want to join
there.
On Leah's page.
Yes. Oh, it finally showed it. Wow, that's interesting. So yeah, by the third Sunday that I went to the church, I was filled with the Holy Ghost. And I just went in with the mindset that, like that Sunday, I remember just going into service like, this is it. Like the Sunday before that, I believe the pastor, he had did an altar call, and I was too afraid. I was like, no, I don't know. But I was mad, and it was like on my mind. So I was like, you know what? The next Sunday I go, as soon as he do it, and I was like, oh Lord, I pray that he do. As soon as he did it, I was like, hi T. I was like, I'm gonna be the first one to go up. I was like, I don't care who's looking, I don't care, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna be the first one up there. Lo and behold, again, the third Sunday came. He did an altar call. I was like, boom, and that's when I gave my life to Jesus. So yeah, that's where all of this began. Again, that was just like a real quick, short, sped up version, but that is when this all began for me again in 2017. So it's been about 2.5 years for me. Yeah, y'all got it to rotate. Yes.
Thanks to you.
Right. So yeah, that's when all of this again began for me. So I'm still a little new to it. But I've learned so much even in that time, and it's just like when you really willingly submit and surrender your life to God, He will begin to work in you like right away. And like I said, I'm just even surprised at myself and where I am just within this 2.5 year period. It just goes to show that God really can make everything work for your good, and He will take you as you are, and turn you into who you're supposed to be. So,
man,
so yeah, that is some background on how we got here to live in this saved life. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about pretty much our, I don't know the word to give it, but
just our experience.
Yeah, just our experiences. And it's been a joy, and it's been very, I can't think of the word.
It's been fun.
Yes.
It's been fun. It's been enlightening.
Yes.
It's been, I think one of the things I shared the first time is that, I think it offers that transparency, because oftentimes when people see not even the finished product, because, we have not arrived, and we will not until we make it to heaven. But just so people don't see and are like, oh my gosh, you don't deal with anything, you don't have any struggles, you don't.
That's good.
We totally do.
Totally do.
And not only do we have them, we're willing to share them, so that hopefully, if you haven't dealt with this particular issue, you won't have to.
Exactly.
Because you can just listen to us.
That was another thing that kind of really drawn me to New Destiny was, I don't know how soon it was, but I think just going to New Destiny, the first lady, she shared her testimony at some point in my early stages. And I was just like, because again, coming into this, like, I viewed everyone like as kind of like this picture perfect idea of like who I wanted to be. But once she shared her testimony, I was like, you regular just like me. Not to like say it like that, but I'm just like, you have real struggles. You've been through life. Like, you didn't just show up this way. Like, you didn't just, like, this hasn't been you all of your life. So that, again, encouraged me that despite my upbringing, despite my experiences, I was like, God can still transform who I am. And I was just like, this is where it happens. This is where I changed. This is where I began a new life. And it's just, honestly, God really does work miracles. I think when we hear the word miracles, we kind of, we think that it's just raising somebody from the dead or healing the blind or something like that. But God literally, if He can take me and save me and transform me, that's a miracle. So
taking up offering after this particular video because we have preached. You hear me?
Really have.
We have testified. We have preached. We have laid the word
we
down.
We have been feeding, like, period. Cash app. We'll put that in the comments after this. Taking all.
To be a blessing. If this ministry has blessed you.
Yes, if this ministry. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, so it's God is just so good. He's just so good. And again, he's the reason why we're doing all of this. And why we continue to do all of this and will continue to do all of this. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. So just last little plug because this particular video will go up on Aaliyah's YouTube, but I think there's a way I can like connect it to mine. I don't think there's a way I can connect it to mine. So
you might be able to.
Whoever is watching this, right? Follow us on Instagram, YouTube. Check out our blogs, our website. So my website is aboutfacecollaborative.com. Lots of cool, interesting things going on. Like, be on the lookout. Special announcement coming next week.
We're so excited.
What else? So totally check out the website. Be sure to subscribe and follow and friend and all of those things. Tell your friends all the stuff on every platform. You want to shout out your stuff right there?
Yes. So my website is monetstruth.com. There you can find my blog, just kind of some background information on me. And again, just be on the lookout because we have some new things coming, guys. And we're so excited. So, again, I recently wrote a blog series, which was the first of many to come, called A Hopeless Romantic. So feel free to check that out if you want more details on my previous relationship. And she also wrote one as well called Not Your Typical Love Story that is on her website. So again, we will just continue to share as long as the Lord will it. We will continue to be used for the glory of His kingdom. So, thank you guys for tuning in, for watching. Feel free to share after you watch. And again, if this ministry has blessed you, no,
for real.
But anywho, all right, bye guys.
Bye guys.